What do you mean What's the like? Do you mean because it's me and you? We'll just write Q&A. Q. Thank you. How are you, miss? You're gonna pick physics for A-levels. Pranav, good on you. Are you actually? Do you know this is technically like an A-level, what you call it, course right now? Well, it's like a Q&A for A-level kids. But you know what? If you're like ready for if you just want to get some like insight for your A-levels, why not, right? Izan, hello. How do you solve physics questions that are presented in an unfamiliar way? Jasleen, hey, what's the crack? Izan, so I would say, like, yeah, thank you for getting the question started as well. So Izan, I would say you just got to think about the topic in school, right? So I think if you think about the recent years, so after COVID, the past papers for physics have got a lot harder, right? And that's the problem because it's all been applied physics. So there's still the same method problems, right? So say it's a problem on, I don't know, magnetic fields, right? You can clearly see the problem says it's about magnetic fields. All you need to go is your physics sheet, open up the equation sheet or the data sheet until, say it's AQA, until you see the section that says magnetic fields. And then you'll have those equations in front of you. So you'll have this set of equations all sitting in front of you. You'll look at the information you're given the question to see which equation is the most appropriate to start with. And then just think about all the other times you've done similar questions on magnetic fields in class, and then what method steps you had to do then, and then just see if you can push those method steps into this question somehow. So for example, when you do magnetic fields, you probably always start with F equals BQV, and then normally talking about circular motion, F equals MA, or F equals MV squared over R. So just start with something that you've normally done in class with magnetic fields, see if you can apply that question to that math that you've done in school, and then normally you can just start flowing from there. Because like you said, a lot of the stuff in A-level now has got a lot harder because they've made the papers harder after COVID. So it's been a lot more applied physics. But again, once you all see the answers, so I don't know if you've seen any of the past papers recently from the past like 3 years, once you actually see the answers, people are like, oh, of course I could have done that, even though they freaked out when they saw the paper because it was just the same math that they've always done for the past 2 years. They just didn't know where to start. Yeah. Anybody else got a question for me? Shit, it could be anything you want, as long as it's, well, not anything you want. Anything about A-level physics that you want. Jasleen, you're in GCSE physics, well, aren't you? Or am I wrong? You and Pranav are the same. Are you given equations at A-level? Pranav, you're given pages and pages of equations. So you don't just get, do you know in GCSE you're going to get given the equation sheet this year, the data sheet, and it's 2 sides. If you do AQA at your school, it's a booklet that's, I'm pretty sure off my head, it's 4 pages double-sided. 4 pages double-sided. Hi, Toxie. Is Toxie, is that how you say it? What's crack? Is Edexcel and AQA physics similar? No, they're actually not 100%. I would say about 80% of them is the same. So about 80% is the same. Because 80% of it has to be the same, right? Because if someone from Edexcel applies to study physics at university and someone from AQA applies to study physics at university, right, they have to have the same basics of knowledge of physics. But there's roughly about a 20% difference. So Edexcel actually doesn't go in as depth as what AQA does. So Edexcel is actually normally has higher grade boundaries because the physics in Edexcel isn't in depth. So for example, something you do in AQA physics that you don't do in Edexcel physics is looking at dielectrics in capacitors. So I don't know if you've heard about a capacitor before, but a capacitor is like a thing in your mobile phone and it stores charge. It looks like this, and it stores charge and then it dissipates the charge really quickly. And you have to learn about capacitors in both Edexcel and AQA, but in AQA you have to know what polar molecules are in here in dielectrics. They're like little things like water or something, but in Edexcel you don't. Okay, so yeah, but 80% is the same, but Edexcel would be easier because it's not as in-depth as what AQA is. Shreyas, are we going to do like some Smith? I don't know what SMTH is. Should I know what that is? Is that like lingo? Yes, Shreyas. Yes, we are. So Shreyas, did you further physics? What do you mean? Are we going to do like something like further physics, like maths, or no? I don't know what that means, Shreya, sorry. Can you explain the concept of electromagnetic induction? Yes, science aren't. I literally just did this with year 13s, so I don't know if you know that we have, science aren't, we have classes. So My Space, obviously is the company representing, and I just taught this with year 13 actually the other day. Electromagnetic induction takes a minute to get your head around, okay? So we'll go in, let me read the other two questions and then we'll go into it. Can you talk about maximum speed, please? My mock last week, there was a series of questions about a car going down a ramp. Maximum speed, I was really confused. Yeah, it's probably a GCSE question there, Hamid. Shreyas, isn't it where you use magnets to accelerate and decelerate by controlling which magnets are being used in maglev trains? About electromagnetic induction. Science aren't. Are you doing AQA? Just help me out there. Are you AQA year 13, I'm assuming? Let's just get a new page. So, electromagnetic induction. Or are you GCSE triple physics? Because I don't know how much we're going into here. So science aren't a delusion. Do you want to do, are we talking year 13 electromagnetic induction for physics, or are we talking year 11 triple physics? I'm assuming you're year 13, because I need to know how much we're going into here. Oh, Toxie, you're wanting to join our classes. So yeah, Toxie actually would be really useful there. So I'll talk to you. I'm waiting for Science R and tell me what to do. So in our classes, yes, I'm AQA, right? So I base everything on AQA, but I've done like a map. So what I've done is I've written down all of our classes we're going to do for the year, like lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, what we're going to do. Then I've put an AQA column, an Edexcel column, and an OCR column. And then what I've done is I mapped out, so like a yes, you need to know this lesson, yes, you need to know this lesson, no, you don't need to know this lesson. But when I say you don't need to know this lesson, there'll only be maybe 10 minutes in each lesson that an Edexcel kid doesn't need to know. And if I'm being honest, sometimes in the lesson, if you get lost, those 10 minutes are a good advantage for you then, because then you can go back and try the math again while you're waiting for me to finish whatever the AQA stuff is. So there's quite a lot of kids in our lessons already that are Edexcel. So it will be useful for you because, again, it's way cheaper than tutors, right? And again, it's only about 10 minutes, maybe once a month, that there's something that we'll do for AQA that you won't need to know. So I don't know, maybe I can try to share that document with you. So Toxie, if you email customer services at MySpace, you know, if you go to the MySpace website, there's an email that you can chat into. Ask them that you were on the lesson today with me, the Q&A, and you said that I've mapped out how the lessons are all similar, and asking can you get a copy of that, and then you can see that and decide. But yeah, there's quite a lot of Edexcel with us already. You don't know what 413 means. What do you mean 4? Oh, sorry, Aaron. That means year 13. Sorry, are you in year 13 asking me about electromagnetic induction? Oh, right. So basically what I'm asking you, are you 17/18 years old, or are you 15 years old? So if you're 15, then it's a slightly lower stuff you need to know. If you're 17 or 18, then we'll go into that knowledge. So tell me your age, and then I'll know what level you're at. 17, right? Okay, we'll do electromagnetic induction then, because it is for A levels. Just read that question. Just want to say that the mic quality is a lot better on TikTok. So also, why do you think people find AQA A-level physics paper 2 hard in 2024? I think they find it hard because they panicked after paper 1. 2024, paper 2 was fine. Like, it was actually grand. I've seen it because I was in schools, the teachers gave it to you. Paper 1, I think they panicked, and then they saw paper 2, and then they just thought it was going to be hard again. Okay, so if you're doing year 13, if you're in the UK, or if you're 17 years, 18 years old, electromagnetic induction, what it is to do with Faraday's law, right? So you've probably seen Faraday's law. So Faraday's law says that the EMF that's induced, so that's why it's electromagnetic induction, the EMF induced is equal to the rate of change of magnetic flux linkage. Okay, so it's the first part to start with. It's called Faraday's law. Aaron, have you heard of Faraday's law? So Faraday's law tells us that that little e there stands for EMF. The EMF induced is proportional, directly proportional to the rate of change of magnetic flux linkage. So that's what that symbol there stands for. So that symbol there stands for magnetic flux linkage. Yes, you have. Happy days. Okay, and what magnetic flux linkage is B times A. So what it means is B is your magnetic field density, so it's normally measured in Teslas, and A is just your area, right? So your area is a meter squared. So what happens here, let's say we've got a coil of wire, right? Like a copper wire, just a random coil of wire. It's not connected to anything at all, okay? So it's just a coil of wire. Maybe it's made of copper, okay? So again, not connected to any cells, any batteries, nothing. And let's say I've got a magnet here. So let's say I've got a permanent magnet. It might be made of something like steel. A permanent magnet's going to have a north pole and it's going to have a south pole, okay? So what's going to happen is when I push that north pole, so when I push that north pole and put work done, when I push that north pole into the coil, what's happening is I'm changing the number of field lines cutting the coil. So again, if we just go back to a little bit of revision, if I've got a north pole and a south pole, we know how I remember it is Santa Claus lives in the North Pole. He has come out of the North Pole to go around the world. So out of the North Pole, around the world, it goes into the South Pole. So that's what B is. That's the magnetic field density, right? So it's how many field lines are cut in an area. So right now, none of those field lines are cut in that coil. None of them are. So there's nothing happening. But when I bring that magnet, if I just change my color, if I bring that magnet closer to my coil, so let's say it's right here, there's my north and there's my south. Do you see how now I've got magnetic field lines cutting the coil? So because I had no magnetic field lines here cutting my coil, and now I do have magnetic field lines cutting my coil, I've had a change here. So what I've had, because I've had a change in the number of field lines cutting that area, right? So that little triangle just stands for change in physics. So, and Faraday's law told us B times A, remember, just means phi. Anytime we've got a change in our magnetic flux linkage, that's how we're always going to get an EMF induced. So what it means is, let's say our time is 1 second. So anytime we've got a change in the number of field lines cut in a specific area, we're always going to get an EMF induced. So because we've had a change here, what's going to happen is I'm going to get an EMF induced in my wire. And if that wire is part of a complete circuit, so let's say we close the gap, it's a complete circuit, what happens then is I'm going to get current to flow from my wire. And it's called the generator effect. Okay, so that's how generators work. So you know how generators are responsible for generating electricity. You use your arm to spin the generator. So when you spin it, what you're doing is you're actually spinning the coil. So you're moving the coil through a magnet. When you're moving a coil through a magnet, again, you're changing the field lines, cutting the coil. And when we change the field lines, you're always going to get an EMF induced. Yeah, the rate of flux changes. So Science Aaron, let me know if that was all right or not, or you want if there's anything particular you want me to go over again. Incognito, do you have to do A-level maths if you're trying to do A-level physics? Incognito, you don't have to. However, it is very unwise not to. If your teacher at school at GCSE tells you not to do A-level maths, they're doing you a disservice, okay? So A-level physics, let's be real, is one of the hardest A-levels, right? Everybody knows it, and that's why it's respected so much in a job, right? If you do a physics degree and you apply for a job, everyone knows physics is one of the hardest, right? So the fact that you've got a good grade in it or a first in it at university, you're going to be very respected in any field. So it's one of the hardest. So you're 17 and you're choosing to do your A-levels and you want to get A stars to get into uni. If you're not choosing to study physics for A-level, or pardon me, if you're not choosing to study physics for university, why would you bother choosing physics for A-level, right? Because you're choosing a subject that's super hard to get an A in, and you're going to choose to do a subject where you might not get an A in, even though you don't want to do it for uni, right? So for example, if I want to apply to uni to study math, right, I'm going to study maths probably, maybe study further maths if I want to, but again, it's quite hard to get an A in for the maths. I'd probably study math and then whatever else they want, but I probably wouldn't pick physics. If I want to do medicine, again, I'd probably pick biology and chemistry because they're easier subjects technically than physics. So you don't really want to pick physics for A-level if you're nearly sure that you want to do it for uni. Because then if you go to apply to any university, like any good university, so say you look at Bristol or you look at Bath or you look at Durham or Cambridge or Oxford to study straight physics, they won't let you into uni unless you've also done math, right? So if you decide that you want to do physics university at Oxford or Bath or Durham, if you didn't do A-level math, you won't get in. So if you ever just go to the universities, you can always look at their entry requirements. So entry requirements, and you can see what it says. So if you go to like Durham or Bath or Bristol, if you want to study straight physics, it normally says you need to have a grade A in physics and a grade A in math. So if you didn't choose to do A-level math, you're not going to get in. Yeah, so you need to do both of them together. And honestly, A-level math is way easier than A-level physics. A lot of people find A-level math quite hard at the start for the first couple of months, and they find actually the first couple of months of A-level physics harder, or easier, sorry. So a lot of people find the first couple of months of A-level math hard and A-level physics easy, but then it switches really quickly, and then you end up finding math a lot easier than physics. Umar, hello, ma'am, I watch your lectures from Turkey. Do you? I was in Turkey over the summer. That's great to hear. Do you watch them? Are you on TikTok as well? Is that where you're following on TikTok? Oh, I should know my flags a bit better, but remember I'm physics. Mariti, is that how you say it? Is that Italy? Is that wrong? I don't even know. From Coventry, hello. Yes, yeah, brilliant. Umar, yeah, perfect. Triangle is like a change, yeah. Flux change, yeah. Science Aaron, oh, I'm happy. Good on Ricky. Am I from England? No. What? Do I sound English? No. I'm from the north of Ireland. Seagull, come back to Blenheim. Who are you? Tell me who you are. What do you mean come back to Blenheim? Seagull, what's your name? Help me out. Umar, one question on this topic. My hair's nice. Oh, thank you. Keep chatting. One question on the topic of so that the topic that we just did there, is that what you're asking me, Umar? A question, a past paper question. I know this was a past paper question because we literally just did it in our classes, our online classes. It literally was that one I just described there. It was a coil of wire connected to an ammeter. So here's my ammeter. And it asks you to tell me what direction, so let's say there's A and there's point B. It asks to say what direction is the current going from A to B. Is it going from left to right if I have a magnet here? So the question, this was a past paper question. The question was, why does the ammeter reading change when the magnet, sorry I can't spell magnet, is pushed into the coil, but when the magnet stops, the current returns to 0. And then part B of the question was, what direction is the current in section A to B? So that was a past paper question. So yeah, I know this one off by heart because we literally did it the other day with year 13 in our online lessons. I have to go to Gauss's law for electric fields and magnetic fields. Can you, Jacob, give me an example of what exactly you want to do? Because you've got Gauss's law, but then you've got electric and you've got magnetic fields. Potential dividers and the purposes. Ricky, you like my accent? Yeah, it's a bit mixed because I grew up. Can you, so just while I'm answering your question there, Jacob, give me like exactly what you want. So what part of it are we lost at? My accent's a bit odd, yeah, because I grew up in Northern Ireland till I was like 18, and then I went to America to do my, I did astrophysics for my undergrad. So I got my bachelor's in astrophysics in America, and then I came back to England to do my master's. So yeah, I've kind of got like a bit of a twang going on. TBATD. I think I'm getting old because I don't know if that's an acronym that I should know. Lenz's law. Yeah, Umar, good job. Potential dividers. Toxie, I'll do potential dividers in 2 seconds. Yeah, so what you want to say is, when a north pole, if I'm trying to push a north pole in, we just said that an EMF is going to get induced. So we just did a second ago, because we've got a rate of change of magnetic flux linkage, right? We're changing the number of field lines cutting that coil. So now I'm changing the number of field lines cutting the coil. I'm going to get an EMF in just my wire. I know energy can't be created or destroyed, right? So that energy has to come from somewhere. So a north pole is going to get induced in this side of the solenoid. So I'm going to change colors, right? BrookDoesPhysics fan, I love you. Who are you? Right, so a north pole is going to get induced here, because what it wants to do then, it's going to try and repel that magnet that's coming into it, right? Because then I have to do work done to push that magnet in against the North Pole. So because I'm doing work in, that's how I can get EMF induced. Or I can say Lenz's law, the EMF induced is to oppose the change that causes it, okay? So if that's a North Pole there, the way you do it is north looks like this. So the current will always go in that direction. So the current from my coil is going to go in that direction. So the current from my coil is going to go in that direction. So if you follow it through, it's going this direction, this direction, this direction, this direction, this direction, this direction. So it's going to go from B to A. Again, because it's a North Pole. If it was a South Pole, it goes that way. Okay, so North Pole, you do the little arrows on top, and you can see it goes in that direction. So that's why I went here, and I went, okay, it's going to go in that direction. Figure out what way it's going to go from B to A. Potential dividers. I'm trying to think of a question. Siegel, Connor, go away. Connor, from Blenheim. Who's Connor? You're going to have to help me out. You're going to have to give me your proper names. Potential dividers. Can anyone give me like a question you want on potential dividers? Or I can pick one off. DIV. God, I can't even spell divider. DIV, help. Where's your question? DIV, ID, ER. Believe it or not, I got an A* in English Lit in GCSE. Not I can spell to save my life. You've probably seen that on my TikToks and on my Instagrams. I can't spell nothing. Is astrophysics hard? I loved astrophysics. I did. I think it's really fascinating. Astrophysics, if you do astrophysics or you do pure physics, you do kind of the same stuff for the first year, first 2 years. You don't really differentiate until the third year. So astrophysics is looking at stars, looking at how do we calculate how far away the star is, how much light is reaching us. It's looking at what a black hole is, time dilation. I just think the only thing I didn't know about astrophysics, right, and it's probably a little bit naive on my part, but I thought if I studied astrophysics, I would get to travel the world. I thought that I would go to all these telescopes like the one in Chile, different countries, and I would look through the telescope at the stars in the sky. But that's not what it is anymore. It's all coding. So if you want to do astrophysics, you need to know how to code. So what you do actually is you probably work at maybe Miller Space Laboratory, or you work at one of the universities, and you send a code to the telescope in Chile, or you send code to the people who work there in Chile, and then you put your code into the telescope, and then telescope orientates to whatever part of the sky that you want it to look at. So it's very heavy on coding, which I didn't know about. But at the same time, studying astrophysics or pure physics, there's no job that would say, oh, you studied astrophysics instead of pure physics, so you're not going to get in. So it was something I loved when I was your age, and you have to study something at uni that you love, or you're going to hate uni. Like the closed like integral of E dot dA charge enclosed epsilon for electric field. Oh dear. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can figure out what you've written. Like the closed like integral. Jacob, that's not something that you do. What example are you doing, Jacob? Because that's not something we do here. For electric fields, here, all you need to know that electric field is force per unit charge. And then to find the force, all you have to do is 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught Q1, Q2 over the distance between the charges squared. Then you have to know that for magnetic fields, F is equal to BQV. So it's slightly different probably. Or maybe you're talking about how to get from a force to an energy. You would integrate it. So you're talking about how then this, you would integrate the force to get the force into an energy. So if you integrate 1 over r squared, what you're doing is r to the minus 2 is what you're integrating. And when you integrate, you add 1 to the power and divide by the new power. So it'd be r to negative 1 over negative 1, which is 1 over r, which is why then we can see when you do what the energy is, you get rid of the r squared. Or you can say that the potential is going to be, the work done is going to be 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught Q1, Q2 over r. Is that what you mean, Jacob? Maybe? Bear with me till I read the next bit. Fahim, I'm going to do my homework for BrookDoes tomorrow. Fahim, wait, for BrookDoes, are you Key Stage 2? Are you here from Key Stage 2? Like year 5, year 6? Ricky, interesting. Yeah, coding, it's That probably is my biggest regret in going to uni, is not learning how to code before I went to uni. So if you're doing any physics degree now, you need to know coding. So C++ or Python. I was at advantage because in America it's big in group work. So I didn't know how to code, but I was really good at doing math and paper. So I made a group in my classes where they were good at coding but not good at math and paper. So I would do the math and paper, and then they would input that math into the computer system to get the computer to run the code. Like they're called like for loops and things. So yeah, in America it's an advantage because if you're not good at one part of it, you can make a group and do that with the other parts. But it's not like that in the UK, unfortunately. How potential dividers affect current, potential difference, and resistance. Okay, I'll pop a question up. Let me see. Bum, bum, bum. So technically this will be a potential divider. What's going to happen to the voltmeter reading as the temperature drops? So give that one a go, and then I'll pop the answer where I read the other ones. Where did I get to in the chat? Umar, I have 90% marks in PCM. Should I know what PCM is? I feel like I'm really bad at these acronyms. In 12th standard, I had a biology also. I'm eligible for both bachelors in medicine and computer science engineering. What should I go up to? Parents are saying to go for med. Oh, okay, Umar. Like, this is a hard one because I don't know you personally. Okay, and I don't want to give you something to put you off. I'll just tell you my facts that I know and what suits me, right? But again, it's a very personal choice. Medicine is very hard. Okay, you got to think that medicine is a beautiful career and you're giving so much back to the world. But if you're a super smart person, studying a medicine degree, in my opinion, isn't the best use of your talents, because you can make a lot more money doing computer science and you'll work less hours. So again, studying medicine is beautiful and you get so rewarding, but you're working extreme hours. And yes, when you become a consultant, you're making bank, right? But you're not a consultant until you're like 50, 60 years old. And all of your 20s is spent stressing constantly in the hospitals. Computer science, on the other hand, if you're someone who's very sociable, you could find that quite boring. So you'd be in front of a computer all day doing coding, right? And if you're someone who needs to have that interaction, needs to be with patients, needs to be with other people, you'll find computer science quite like soul destroying. But again, it depends what company that you go into as well. Because if you go into a company where it's really, so this company, MySpace, it's a startup tech company. So a lot of it is coding, but again, we all work together in the same environment. So even though people are on their computers working, you're sitting beside someone, and then there's quite a lot of social events. So yeah, it is a very personal decision. I do think it also depends what country you're from, because I do think, especially when I'm from Northern Ireland is quite backward still. If you're smart, straight away your parents are like, oh, do medicine, be a lawyer, right? So I just think you have to understand why you went to medicine. Do your parents want pushing you to medicine because they think that you'll love it and you're giving back to the world, or are they pushing into it because they think it's like a typical smart person job? I think that's more of the conversation you need to have. What's your favorite Marvel movie? 4, but only the first one. And then I got well put off them after that. Cube Core. I do year 11 at MySpace. Woohoo! As temperature decreases, the potential difference will increase. Electric field strength is force per unit charge. That's what it says. That's not energy, sorry. That's electric field strength is the force per unit charge. It's not energy, it's electric field strength. And then W is work done is the force times by the distance. So that's where that came from, because we derived the force, or to the integral, sorry, of the force. What was I saying? Sorry. Sarah, you said as the temperature decreases, so you're saying as the temperature drops, the potential difference is going to increase. Okay, so let's go for it in a different color. And I think it's probably the last thing we're going to get to. So it says, this is a thermistor. So in a thermistor, as the temperature decreases, we know what that means, the resistance increases. Okay, so right here, the resistance has got really high. So if the resistance has got really high, if I put a potential voltmeter across here, the voltmeter reading is going to increase. This voltmeter reading will increase. Okay, but I know if I just change colors, I know that whatever potential difference is across my cell must be equal to the potential difference here plus the potential difference here. So the potential difference across my cell must equal 1 plus 2. The voltmeter 1 plus the voltmeter 2. And if voltmeter 2 has just got really high, voltmeter 1 is actually going to decrease. So this voltmeter here will actually have a decrease in the reading because this voltmeter had an increase in its reading. Yeah? Did I get your question there? This is not energy, it's electric field. It's electric field. Electric field strength is force per unit charge, per unit positive test charge. I think maybe I just lost you because it was E. Fahim, the overall astrophysics salary range between 18 to 28k. In the US, the base salary for astrophysics range from 75 to 105k. Average basic salary is 89k. Fahim, again, I'll have these for a couple more minutes, but just to answer your question about salaries. Salaries are averages based on the average person, not on your intelligence, right? So, for example, I was a teacher for a long time. I still am a teacher, but I was a teacher for a long time in school. Most teachers in school will make a maximum salary of around 40k, right? And that's the maximum they can ever get to. However, if you're a very good teacher, so I was a physics teacher, if you're a very good teacher and the schools know that you're good and they really want you, you can get up to 100k, right? But again, that's not the average. That's you're an outlier. You're going towards the peak. So take salaries with like a pinch of salt, because again, that's the average of a typical person, not someone who's like exceptional, right? Miss, on your channel, can you post GCSE triology, aka Physics Paper 1, what free of past papers? Pranav, that's actually a really good idea to do like a whole past paper thing. We do a cram, we do a cram session, but it's a good idea. So maybe I'll speak to Holligas, how Holligas in charge of that, to see maybe if we can do like a YouTube video on it rather than a TikTok. It's going to be really long on TikTok, but I'll see if I can do like a YouTube video just doing past paper questions. Izan, yeah, MySpace, that's me. I'm the head of physics there. Maybe I just bought one and wrote MySpace on it myself. Funny. Yeah. Guys, that was great. I hope I answered most of your questions. But again, just because I know there was one there that I wasn't really sure what you were asking me. If you want to, so I saw a lot of you posted things on like questions that you wanted me to answer on Instagram. And I did have some questions planned because some of you asked me about uncertainties. But because we were just like vibing there in the chat, I wanted to answer the questions you actually asked me. So I did have some of them planned or based on what you wrote on Instagram. When you wrote me a message to say, hey, can we do this? Or hey, can we do that? Some of you asked me about projectiles and some of you asked me about diffraction using de Broglie wavelength. So again, we're going to do this on the reg now, right? Like just a chill Q&A. So just remember to keep posting in the Instagram if what's useful for you guys. And also times, like, so does this time good? Because I know chemistry and biology, they do it at lunchtime, but I think lunchtime at schools are quite different for everybody, aren't they? So, yeah, so just tell me like what time you actually think could suit you guys best so this can be useful for you guys. Do longer YouTube videos. Yeah, Ricky, have you seen the ones I did on YouTube? They're a bit shorter. They're basically the ones that's on TikTok. But I know TikTok's not allowed in some countries. That's why we put them into YouTube. Ariane, you're in Chemistry with Joy. How can you be in Chemistry with Joy right now? Doesn't make any sense. Circular motion, 100% will, but I actually have a lesson right now. So I've got so join my Space the company, and we also do lessons online. So I actually have a lesson now. So who asked me about circular motion there, sorry? Circular motion. Go and send me a message there on Instagram, or I'm guessing that's where you find this, or do you find it on TikTok? Send me a DM, ask me that same question, and then I can make sure I'll put it into, like, find a past paper questions like I did for these ones, and we'll put it in for the next day. Is that good? And what a time you think will suit you best, and wherever time works, we'll do that. Yeah, so 42 fan. Umar, send some of your followers my way, eh? Hey, Omar. My name's Brooke. Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe my mom spelled it wrong. Maybe her spelling's as bad as mine, but there's no E in the end. Yeah, and Omar, 2D momentum, that's a really good one. We just did that with year 12s actually as well on an online lesson. So yeah, just send me a DM, so we'll do it for next time, because we only have half an hour for these. But again, thank you for being so interactive and like just pushing through questions you had. Yeah. Right. Have a lovely rest of your Thursday. And I know some of you I'll see in our online lessons in a bit, eh? But thank you for today. I hope it was useful. So remember, just send me a DM with like questions you want and more specific questions. And then I'll try to make sure that we can maybe get it organized a bit better. Or we can just keep doing it where it's a whiteboard and you just fire a question and I just pop them in. Full name of me, Brook Edgar. B-R-O-O-K, Edgar, E-D-G-A-R. Yeah. Or just Google my headspace and you'll see us there. Right, guys, you've been awesome. Thank you. It's been lovely to meet a lot of you, especially ones I haven't chatted to before. See you later. Day with Brook is incomplete.